The midday sun glared over the pristine turquoise waters that framed one of the world's most exclusive private resorts. Guests lounged in luxurious cabanas, sipping exotic cocktails while soft tropical music floated through the air. It was paradise for some. For others, it was a battleground of dignity and identity. "I'm sorry, sir, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave," said the staff member, her voice dripping with condescension. Evan Coleman stood stunned, disbelief shadowing his chiseled features. The woman before him, a middle-aged front desk manager, Monica, spoke louder now, drawing attention from other staff and guests. "You can't just walk into places like this without clearance." He swallowed his anger, his tone measured. "I'm not trespassing. I'm a guest here." Monica crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing as she scanned him from head to toe. His casual attire, a crisp white shirt, tailored khaki shorts, and leather sandals, should have fit seamlessly into the resort's upscale aesthetic. But Monica's gaze lingered on his dark skin and tightly coiled hair. "We have rules, you know," she pressed, her voice rising further. "This is not a public beach. You can't loiter here without a reservation." Evan reached into his pocket and retrieved his confirmation email. "Here's my booking. Evan Coleman, 3 nights in the presidential suite." He held the phone toward her, his hands steady despite the growing crowd's murmurs. She glanced at the screen, dismissing it with a scoff. "This can't be right," she muttered, motioning to a security guard nearby. "Please escort this man off the property." The security guard, a burly man with an apologetic expression, hesitated. "Monica, maybe we should check with—" "I don't need to check anything," she snapped. "We've had enough complaints about this type of behavior." Evan's jaw tightened, his mind racing. The audacity, the humiliation, the rage that threatened to spill over. But as the guard stepped closer, his words halted everyone in their tracks. "Before you lay another hand on me, you might want to call the boardroom," Evan said, calm but commanding. "Let them know their CEO is about to be thrown out of his own resort." Monica's smirk faltered, confusion flashing across her face. The onlookers froze, their collective breath held. The security guard took a step back, uncertainty plastered across his face. "You're lying," Monica sneered, though the edge in her voice betrayed her growing doubt. Evan locked eyes with her. "Call them. Let's see who's lying." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air as Monica fumbled for her radio. A crackle broke the silence, her voice shaky as she requested verification from the head office. The crowd, now twice its size, leaned in closer, eager to witness the fallout. And then it came. "Monica!" The voice on the other end crackled back, panic evident even over the radio. "That's Mr. Coleman. Stand down immediately. Do not touch him." Her face turned ghostly white as realization dawned. Evan stood unwavering, his piercing gaze locked on her. "Now," he said, his tone sharper than a blade, "shall we talk about your rules? Or should I start with the series of complaints about racial profiling that brought me here in the first place?" The crowd erupted in murmurs, shock, and anger, rippling through them like a tidal wave. Monica's mouth opened and closed, her words lost in the chaos. Evan turned away, his voice carrying as he strode toward the main office. This isn't over. What Evan uncovered in the aftermath would shake the resort's foundation and expose the deep-seated rot he'd vowed to eradicate. But even he couldn't predict how far the corruption went or who else was complicit. Evan's strides were purposeful as he entered the resort's main office, a sleek building adorned with modern furnishings that felt as cold and impersonal as the attitudes he had just encountered. The room fell silent as staff members noticed him. They exchanged wide-eyed glances, recognizing their boss, though likely not through personal interaction. The phone in Monica's hand trembled as she hurried to catch up, her earlier arrogance replaced by nervous energy. "Mr. Coleman, I didn't realize—" He turned sharply, cutting her off. "Save it." His tone was cold, his usual warmth now buried under the weight of the incident. Evan addressed the room. "Where's the resort manager?" Within moments, a tall, sharply dressed man emerged from an office at the room's far end. Thomas Grayson, the resort's general manager, had always carried himself confidently, but now his posture faltered slightly as he approached Evan. "Mr. Coleman," Thomas began, his voice oozing politeness. "What an unexpected pleasure. We weren't informed you were visiting. That's because I didn't want anyone to know, Evan replied, his voice calm but firm. I wanted to experience this resort the way our guests do, and I got exactly what I came for. Thomas's smile faltered. I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Evan raised a hand. Enough. Let's address what just happened. Monica, one of your senior staff members, decided to make assumptions about me based solely on my appearance. She accused me of trespassing and had security ready to throw me out. Do you understand the gravity of that? Thomas nodded, his face pale. I'll handle this, sir. Rest assured. Evan interrupted again, his voice rising slightly. You'll handle it. How many times have guests reported similar incidents to you? Because I've seen the complaints. I read every single one before I came here. Dozens of them. And yet here we are. Nothing has been handled. Monica opened her mouth to defend herself, but Evan's sharp gaze silenced her. You will speak when I ask you to, he said icily. The staff collectively held their breath as Evan continued. Racism, whether from ignorance, bias, or outright malice, has no place here. This resort is supposed to represent luxury, inclusion, and excellence. What it cannot represent is discrimination. Do you understand that, Thomas? Yes, sir, Thomas said quickly. Good, Evan replied. Then you'll have no issue with what happens next. Evan called an emergency meeting in the boardroom, summoning all department heads and key staff members. By the time everyone gathered, the room buzzed with tension. Monica sat at the far end, her earlier confidence shattered, while Thomas nervously adjusted his tie. Evan began without a preamble. I didn't come here to enjoy the amenities or inspect the facilities. I came here undercover because I had reason to believe this resort has a culture problem, a big one. And today, I got first-hand proof. He scanned the room, his piercing gaze daring anyone to deny it. We've built this resort on the idea of exclusivity, but somewhere along the way, some of you have confused exclusivity with exclusion. That ends now. He gestured to an assistant, who began distributing printed copies of guest complaints over the past year. Each one detailed experiences of racial profiling, subtle or overt, by the staff. The silence in the room grew heavier with every page flipped. Read them, Evan commanded. Read every single one, and then tell me this is a misunderstanding. The air was thick with guilt and discomfort as the staff complied. After a few moments, Evan continued. I won't ask who was responsible for each of these incidents. That's not my job. But I will make it my job to ensure that everyone in this room is held accountable for the culture they've allowed to fester here. He turned to Monica. You, stand up. Monica rose shakily, her eyes downcast. Explain yourself, Evan demanded. Her voice was barely audible. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to. Stop, Evan interrupted. This isn't about you making a mistake. This is about you embodying a mindset that has no place in this industry or anywhere else. Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to be judged, not for your actions, but for your skin color? Do you realize what you've cost this resort in reputation, trust, and humanity? Tears brimmed in her eyes, but Evan didn't relent. You're suspended, effective immediately. Whether you return will depend on your willingness to undergo extensive training and make amends. He turned to the rest of the staff. As for the rest of you, this resort will shut down for 2 weeks starting tomorrow. Every employee, from management to housekeeping, will undergo mandatory diversity, equity, and inclusion training. And when we reopen, there will be zero tolerance for discrimination. Anyone caught engaging in it will be terminated on the spot. No exceptions. The story didn't end there, and news of the incident leaked despite Evan's efforts to keep it internal. Within days, it became a media sensation. CEO of private resort exposes racial profiling in undercover visit became the headline plastered across major outlets. While some criticized the resort's failures, many praised Evan's leadership and transparency. Bookings initially dipped, but surged after the resort's reopening, bolstered by Evan's changes. After completing the training, Monica requested a private meeting with Evan. Tearfully, she apologized not just for her actions, but for the mindset she'd carried for years. It wasn't an instant redemption, but it was a start. Evan's mission continued with his resort. He became a vocal advocate for inclusivity in the luxury industry, ensuring that no one would ever feel unwelcome in a space meant for relaxation and joy. In the end, The resort became more than a destination. It became a symbol of change. Evan, the man who faced humiliation and turned it into a teachable moment, proved that leadership isn't just about profit margins. It's about standing up for what's right, no matter the cost.